I apologize to you all. I'm still back on the Oscars. I already did a full video on Zoe Saldana and how ridiculous that win was. 2 wins, actually. 2 wins. And, but this entire Oscars this year, I've seen some people say that it was a normal Oscars, that it was a fine show, that it just didn't have anything spectacular. No scandals, no Will Smith slaps. The more I get into it, no, this Oscars was a disastrous clown show on every level. And it kind of solidified why people don't watch anymore. Like the scandals, like the Will Smith slap stuff, that is what gets people to watch. Not what happened, though. So let's recap everything in this Oscars that just proved it was a complete and utter disaster. So first of all, there was the Amelia Perez situation, as you know, and just the whole thing, it really seemed obvious that Amelia Perez was originally being positioned to be the Oscars darling this year with 13 nominations, awards left and right for the actors involved with it and the songwriters and everything. And then it was after the Golden Globes that the controversy around the movie started to pick up after a video from Journey Through Cinema came out condemning the film and bringing attention to it to more people, basically. And the controversy just spiraled from there. And it came from different sides. Some of it was from the LGBT community who were upset that this was not a very good portrayal of being trans. And a lot of it was from Mexicans who found the movie to be entirely offensive. And then other people on the other side thinking that a biological man should not be nominated for Best Actress. But anyway, the controversy around it spiraled, and there really was not anyone defending the film. I think that the Academy thought that, or the people pushing this film thought that they were doing a very bold thing and a very, taking a stand with this movie, and that it would have a strong backing around it to have the first trans actress nominated. And I fully believe that they were intending for Carla Sofia Gascon to win, if not that there was a lot of traction there. Because why? Otherwise, why would they work so hard to nuke Carla Sofia Gascon? That is not a coincidence. That was the one element of the film. The entire film was getting controversy, but they didn't attack the director. They didn't attack Zoe Saldana. They allowed her to get her Oscars still. They attacked Carla Sofia Gascon. That this was the one person who they were really pushing and using as the face of the film, because they are the face of the film. Basically, I believe that they allowed those tweets to be found. I don't believe that this was a coincidence. The person who found the tweets said first thing out of their mouth, "I'm not an industry plant." I believe that that is confirmation that they were. I think that they wanted Carla Sofia Gascon nuked so they didn't have to commit to that. So now they were without Amelia Perez. So now they had to nominate different films. And the one that they chose in place to be sort of the Oscars darling was a film called Anora. And this is a film that was getting a lot of praise out of the indie scene. It won the Best Picture at the Cannes Film Festival. And it would seem a lot of people were speaking of this film as if it was just a harmless choice to be the Best Picture winner. And Sean Baker breaking history by winning 4 Oscars for his film. But was it really? Because Mikey Madison got up on the stage when she accepted her Oscar and thanked the sex worker community and said that they would always have her support. And this created another flurry online. And I saw this once again, a little bit similar to Amelia Perez. A lot of people from different sides were condemning this because what does Mikey Madison mean by that? Does she mean that she's going to help girls who are being sex trafficked? Is she going to help impoverished women who on drugs, maybe having thoughts of suicide, who feel trapped in this life, who've been groomed into it, who are there because of poverty? You know, Mikey Madison is going to live her life in the lap of luxury. You know, they said that they give every person nominated, director and actor nominated at the Oscars, a $200,000 gift bag to resorts and all of the stuff like that. Mikey Madison is not going to live any kind of life like it would be for a prostitute. She is not going to ever be close to needing to get into that life because of the wealth that she has. And people are questioning how can you get up on stage and you just give this vague, I will support you? Does she mean she's going to support people staying in that life? Well, I think that's what it meant, and that's why I think that Anora was not such a harmless film to nominate. Now, I have seen parts of Anora. I did not want to watch the whole thing because I did not want to watch all the scenes at the strip club and all of that, but I will say that a lot of people who watched Anora came away with the interpretation that the film was ultimately a condemnation of that life because it has a sad ending. Anora doesn't seem to know what love actually is beyond the transactional, and that was the interpretation a lot of people have. But I will say Sean Baker, he just does films about prostitution, and he has said that his goal with those films and with this film was to destigmatize it. And the reason I'm saying prostitution here is sex work is actually a word that was invented to try to normalize prostitution, and that's why I don't want to use that word. Use words to make it not sound as bad. That's kind of what the point, even at the end of Anora, is supposed to be. That's what the director said it was. Mikey Madison, the character she plays, Anora, what I have seen of it, it just treats her, going to the strip club and doing this life, this prostitution is just, like another job, and she's not rich. She's trying to get her bag of money, but notice how this is the kind of representation that they chose for this kind of life. It's not the coked out woman who was pressured into this life out of poverty or grooming or sex trafficking. No, it's the working girl who's trying to get her bag, and that's she's tough talking and she's rambunctious and she's feisty, and it's not a happy ending from her, but these are the other ways that they're trying to normalize it. They don't show you the actual dark side of this and the actual abuse and the violence and the degradation and how most girls do not choose this life. They are trapped in it. And so that is, even if there's a flippant thing at the end about that's sad for Anora that she doesn't understand love beyond the transactional, that's still the point of the film. It's to make all of this feel normal. And that's what Sean Baker said the point was. And this is not the first time at all that the Academy has done movies like this. They were trying to push The Hustlers for a while as something that was going to push the idea of prostitution as something empowering for women, but they didn't go with that. They will choose the well-made film in order to promote this stuff. I don't think that they're stupid on that level. I think that they abandoned Hustlers because it wasn't as well-made and went with this one. And there's just a lot of films like that have come from Hollywood. Last year, it was Poor Things, which had a woman who had a baby brain put into her and was coming alive like a newborn, get into prostitution, and that was how she was liberating herself, you see. And behind the scenes, they did do a scene which they cut from the U.S. release because it was illegal, of two kids being exposed to her acts because their father said he wanted to educate their sons. It was not at all ambiguous about what that movie was going for. And Emma Stone, I have never looked at her the same way. Like a shade comes over my eyes whenever I see her now because she was a part of that film. But the Academy just has a lot of these films come out where they're trying to normalize something like that, or there's a lot of movies like May, December, Power of the Dog, Licorice Pizza that have, let's say, a problematic age gap relationships. Here's what they do, though. They do May, December. It's about this woman who statutory raped a boy, a 13-year-old boy. But the movie, it isn't saying that it condones it, but it just wants to talk about the complexities of it, the gray areas. That's what a lot of these movies do. We're not saying we condone any of this stuff, but we just want to talk about the complexities of it, you see? They are never going to outright come out and say what they're trying to normalize with these movies. They're never going to do that. That would be too dangerous. And I think a lot of film students eat these films up and be like, it's not actually saying that, or pay attention to the craftsmanship. Like anybody who criticized Poor Things was just raked across the coals. How dare you even get a negative interpretation out of Poor Things after what the director has done behind the scenes? There's a lot of these awful films, and they always have at least one in the Oscars, and so that's why I think that Anora making that film win and having Mikey Madison give that speech was actually a negative for the Oscars because it brought a lot of attention to this and a lot of criticism. Like, once again, is Mikey Madison going to do anything to stop sex trafficking? Is she going to help girls out of prostitution? Why this sounds like she is normalizing it, and she is. There was an article from Hollywood Reporter that came out shortly after talking to prostitutes and them saying that they need to stop being pushed to the edges of society. And it's like, that stuff isn't pushed to the edge of the society because you're marginalized. It's pushed because it's bad stuff, and that most people in that industry don't want to be there and are abused into it. It is an abusive, violent industry. So it's all just a disaster, a complete disaster, and it was not controversy-free. And it really exposed even just letting Honora win, which originally did not seem to be the kind of film I would think win, but it did, and I think that it still is aligning with the kinds of things that the elitists in the Academy want to promote. I'm not saying that everyone who has a membership in order to be able to vote in the Oscars is like that. Certainly not everyone in Hollywood is. The majority of people in Hollywood are working class people, but in terms of the elitists here, like, this still is showing just how there's still so much corruption, and they're so out of touch with normal people. When normal people see the kinds of things they're nominating these days, and what they have for a long time, but to now normalize it, and but to now continuously have films trying to normalize stuff, it just shows that they're a world apart from the average person, and just how corrupt all of this is, and just, you know, the power play involved in who gets awards and all of that. Also, in the end, they did not even honor Tony Todd, Michelle Trachtenberg, or Bernard Hill, of all people, in their in memoriam, and that was really awful as well. So I think that the 2025 Oscars were actually a complete disaster. I think that they bode very badly for the Oscars going forward, and I don't know how to fix it at this time. I was even considering, do we just need an entirely new award show where we actually do nominate great films, and not just films with messaging so vague that you can project anything you want onto them, trying to slip some poison pill messaging into them, what they're trying to normalize. I don't know, like, if the Oscars can be salvaged going forward. I would want them to be, but how can I believe anything here is a legitimate reward or comes from a good place with all of this stuff weighing it down? But that's all I got for you guys today. What do you think of the Oscars? Are you just going to ignore them, or do you think that it is right to still pay attention to them with anything that they are doing with what some people behind the scenes might be trying to normalize? Let me know in the comments below, and I thank you patrons as always for supporting this channel, and I will see you guys next time.